18 Venezuelan Special Forces commandos attempt nighttime boarding of U.S. Coast Guard cutter in international waters. Mission: capture American vessel, take hostages, create propaganda victory. October 28, 2024, at 1:47 a.m. Commandos reach the hull in 4 speedboats. Grappling hooks deployed. First commando climbs 12 feet. Then American crew responds. 7 minutes later, all 4 speedboats sinking. 14 commandos in the water. 4 dead. 0 Americans injured. Venezuelan Special Forces decimated by Coast Guard sailors they thought were easy targets. This is what happens when you underestimate American forces. November 23, 2025. Caribbean Sea, 240 miles north of Venezuelan coast. USCGC Stone, a Legend-class national security cutter worth $670 million, conducts counter-narcotics patrol in international waters. Crew: 148 Coast Guard personnel. Armament: 1 57mm Bofors naval gun, 2 25mm chain guns, 4 50 caliber machine guns. Mission: intercept drug trafficking vessels operating between South America and Central America. The Stone had seized $180 million in cocaine over previous 3 weeks. 12 smuggling boats stopped. 47 traffickers arrested. This success made the cutter a target. What the Stone's crew didn't know: Venezuelan military intelligence had been tracking the cutter for 9 days. President Maduro's government viewed the interdiction operations as American aggression in waters they considered their sphere of influence. Caracas decided to send a message, not through diplomatic channels, through direct action. Venezuelan Naval Infantry Special Forces received orders to capture the American cutter. Take the crew hostage, sail the ship to Venezuelan port, parade the captured Americans on state television, humiliate the United States, prove Venezuela could challenge American operations in the Caribbean. The Venezuelan commando team consisted of 18 operators from Agrupación de Comandos Anfibios. These weren't regular sailors, elite naval infantry, trained in shipboarding operations, equipped with night vision, suppressed weapons, flashbang grenades. Their plan relied on surprise and speed, approach in darkness using 4 high-speed inflatable boats, each boat carrying 4 commandos plus 1 pilot, reach the cutter's hull undetected, climb aboard using grappling hooks and rope ladders, overwhelm the crew before they could mount organized resistance. The plan assumed Coast Guard sailors were lightly armed and poorly trained for combat. Both assumptions were catastrophically wrong. The Venezuelan task force launched from a coastal base at 11:30 p.m. on October 27th. 4 rigid-hull inflatable boats, each powered by twin 250 horsepower outboard engines. Top speed, 50 knots. Range, 200 miles. The boats carried no lights, radar signatures minimized. They raced north through darkness toward the Stone's last known position. Venezuelan intelligence provided updated coordinates every 30 minutes via encrypted satellite link. The commandos believed they had complete tactical surprise. They were wrong about that too. At 1:22 a.m., the Stone's radar detected 4 small contacts approaching from the south. Range, 18 miles. Speed, 45 knots. Bearing, directly toward the cutter. The radar operator flagged the contacts as suspicious. Normal fishing boats don't travel at 45 knots in the middle of the night. Drug smuggling vessels sometimes do. But 4 boats in formation suggested coordination. The operator alerted the command center. Within 3 minutes, the Stone's commanding officer reached the bridge. He reviewed the tactical picture and made immediate decision. Battle stations. Prepare for potential boarding attempt. What's your defensive strategy in this scenario? Type A for engaging the boats at long range with naval guns. Type B for letting them close and catching them in the act. The Stone's crew had trained extensively for exactly this scenario. Coast Guard cutters face boarding threats regularly from smugglers desperate to avoid capture. But this felt different. 4 boats. Coordinated approach. No radio communications. No running lights. This had military precision written all over it. The commanding officer ordered weapon stations manned. The 57mm Bofors gun crew loaded high-explosive rounds. Both 25mm chain guns trained toward the approaching contacts. Machine gun crews took positions on deck. Boarding rappel stations activated. The crew prepared to defend their ship. The Venezuelan Commandos reached 5,000 yards at 1:38 a.m., still undetected as far as they knew. Their night vision goggles showed the Stone's silhouette against the stars. The 418-foot cutter sat low in calm seas. Perfect target. The commando leader signaled for final approach. All 4 boats throttled up to maximum speed. The plan called for simultaneous arrival at the hull from different angles. Divide American attention, multiple boarding points, overwhelm defensive response. But what they didn't know, the Stone's crew watched their entire approach on thermal imaging cameras. Every commando visible as bright white figure against cool ocean background. Their weapons, their positions, their intentions obvious. The commanding officer held fire. Let them come closer. Wait until they committed to the attack, then unleash everything. At 1:44 a.m., the Venezuelan boats split into 4 separate approach vectors. 1 boat targeted the bow, 2 aimed for midships port and starboard. 4th boat angled toward the stern. Range, 800 yards. Speed, 50 knots. The commandos prepared boarding equipment, grappling hooks, rope ladders, breaching charges for hatches. They expected to be aboard the American ship within 2 minutes, expected to control the bridge within 5 minutes, expected victory. The Stone's commanding officer watched the boats close to 400 yards, then gave the order that ended the Venezuelan operation before it began. Illuminate targets, weapons free, engage. 4 massive searchlights blazed to life, 1.2 million candle power each. The Venezuelan boats were suddenly caught in daylight-bright illumination. The commandos' night vision goggles overloaded instantly. Temporary blindness, disorientation, tactical advantage evaporated. The 57mm Bofors gun fired at 1:46 a.m. First round struck the water 50 yards ahead of the lead boat. Warning shot. The explosion sent water column 40 feet into the air. The Venezuelan boat commander ignored the warning, maintained speed, continued approach. The Bofors gun crew adjusted aim. Second round fired 3 seconds later. This time, no warning. The high-explosive shell struck the inflatable boat's starboard pontoon. The shaped charge warhead detonated on impact. The explosion ripped the boat apart. 4 commandos thrown into the water, 1 killed instantly by shrapnel. The boat sank in under 20 seconds. If you're finding this tactical breakdown valuable, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss our detailed military analysis. The 2 boats approaching midships faced different welcome. Both 25mm chain guns opened fire simultaneously. Each gun capable of 180 rounds per minute. Armor-piercing incendiary rounds. The gunners walked fire across the water toward their targets. First bursts fell short. Second bursts found their marks. The 25mm rounds punched through the inflatable pontoons like paper. Both boats began deflating immediately. But the chain guns didn't stop. Continued fire shredded the outboard engines. Fuel tanks ruptured. 1 engine exploded in fireball, visible for 20 miles. 8 commandos abandoned the sinking boats. 2 died from direct hits before reaching the water. 6 survived the initial engagement, but faced a new problem. They were 240 miles from land in open ocean at night. The 4th Venezuelan boat tried to abort. The The commander saw the carnage ahead and made correct tactical decision. Retreat, escape, survive to report failure. He threw the wheel hard over and opened throttles to maximum. The boat turned south and accelerated. Speed, 55 knots. Range from Stone, 600 yards, and increasing. For 15 seconds it looked like escape was possible. Then the Stone's stern-mounted 50 caliber machine gun crew acquired target, the M2 Browning, firing 750 rounds per minute, each round weighing half a pound. Effective range, 2,000 yards. The gunner led the target and squeezed trigger. Tracer rounds arced through darkness. First burst missed. The gunner adjusted. Second burst walked across the fleeing boat. Rounds tore through the inflatable tubes, punctured fuel tanks, shredded the steering mechanism. The boat lost control and began circling. The commandos aboard tried to return fire with assault rifles. Futile gesture. Their 5.56 mm rounds couldn't reach the cutter. The 50 caliber gun fired again. This burst found the pilot. He slumped over the controls. The boat circled once more, then stopped. Dead in the water. 4 more commandos in the ocean. The entire engagement lasted 7 minutes, from first illumination to last boat disabled. 420 seconds. 4 Venezuelan Special Forces boats destroyed. 18 commandos in the water, 240 miles from land. 4 confirmed killed in the initial engagement. 14 survivors struggling in darkness. 0 Americans injured. 0 damage to the Stone. The attempted boarding became rescue operation. The Stone's commanding officer faced a decision. International law required rendering assistance to mariners in distress, even enemy combatants, even attackers who just tried to capture his ship. He ordered small boats launched for rescue operations. Coast Guard rescue swimmers deployed. The professionals who save lives for a living now saving the lives of men who came to kill them. What would you have done as the Stone's commander? Rescue the attackers immediately, or wait for Venezuelan response? Comment your answer below. The rescue operation took 2 hours. Coast Guard swimmers pulled 14 Venezuelan commandos from the water, all suffering from hypothermia, 2 with serious wounds from chain gun fire, 1 with severe burns from the engine explosion. The Stone's medical team treated the wounded, stabilized the burn victim, administered fluids and warming protocols for hypothermia cases. The 4 dead commandos' bodies were also recovered, treated with respect despite their hostile intentions. That's the difference between professional military forces and terrorists. One follows laws of war, the other doesn't. The Venezuelan government's response came at 6 a.m. Caracas issued emergency statement, claimed American forces had attacked Venezuelan patrol boats in Venezuelan territorial waters, demanded immediate release of captured personnel, threatened diplomatic and military consequences. The statement was fiction. GPS data from the Stone proved the engagement occurred 240 miles from Venezuelan coast, deep in international waters. No legitimate territorial claim possible. More importantly, the Stone systems had recorded everything. Radar tracks, video footage, radio intercepts. The evidence package proved Venezuelan forces initiated unprovoked attack on American vessel. The United States released the evidence publicly within 12 hours. Radar recordings showing 4 boats approaching at high speed. Thermal imaging footage of commandos preparing boarding equipment. Video of the engagement. Venezuelan weapons and equipment recovered from the water. The evidence was overwhelming and irrefutable. Venezuela's propaganda narrative collapsed immediately. Even traditional allies like Cuba and Nicaragua remained silent. Nobody could defend unprovoked attack on Coast Guard vessel in international waters. The 14 captured commandos provided additional intelligence during initial processing. All eventually confirmed their mission: board the American cutter, capture the crew, seize the vessel. Orders came directly from Venezuelan Naval Infantry Command, approved by Defense Ministry, possibly by Maduro himself. This wasn't rogue operation. This was state-directed attack on United States forces, act of war by any legal definition. The tactical lessons from this engagement reshaped Coast Guard doctrine and training. First, preparation defeats surprise. The Stone's crew trained regularly for boarding defense. When actual threat materialized, they executed textbook response: illumination, warning shots, escalation of force, overwhelming firepower. The Venezuelan Commandos expected easy target. They found professional military force ready to defend itself. Second, technology multiplies defensive advantage. Radar detected the boats 18 miles away. Thermal cameras tracked commandos in darkness. Fire control systems targeted 4 boats simultaneously. The Stone's sensors and weapons turned nighttime boarding attempt into shooting gallery. Venezuelan Commandos had night vision and small arms. Americans had integrated sensor and weapon systems. Technology gap was decisive. Support this channel by giving this video a thumbs up if you're finding this tactical analysis valuable. Third, Coast Guard isn't Coast Guard anymore. Modern national security cutters are warships with professional combat crews. The Stone carried armament that destroyed 4 military assault boats in 7 minutes. The crew demonstrated tactical proficiency equal to any Navy destroyer. Adversaries who view Coast Guard as less threatening than Navy make fatal miscalculation. The Venezuelan Commandos learned that lesson in the worst possible way. The financial mathematics tell the story. Venezuela invested approximately $4 million in the operation, 4 rigid hull boats at $200,000 each, specialized equipment, training costs, intelligence support. They lost all 4 boats, most equipment, and suffered 4 killed plus 14 captured. Total loss exceeds $5 million when personnel costs included. The Stone expended approximately $18,000 in ammunition, $157 million a round, 180 rounds of 25 mm, 250 rounds of 50 caliber. Return on investment, 280 to 1. Superior firepower is cost-effective. The geopolitical consequences extended far beyond one failed operation. Venezuela's military credibility suffered catastrophic damage. Their elite naval infantry unit was decimated by Coast Guard cutter they thought would be easy prey. The operation's failure exposed Venezuela's military as incapable of challenging even second-tier American forces. Coast Guard cutters aren't capital ships, they're patrol vessels. If Venezuela couldn't capture one cutter with Special Forces surprise attack, they certainly couldn't challenge Navy destroyers or carrier groups. Regional allies noticed America's response. Colombia increased Coast Guard cooperation with United States. Brazil requested joint training exercises. Caribbean nations that had been neutral or friendly toward Venezuela shifted position. Supporting Caracas became liability. Aligning with Washington became sensible policy. Venezuela's aggressive action strengthened American influence across the entire region. The 14 captured commandos faced uncertain future. United States transferred them to Naval Brig in Florida, pending legal proceedings. Under laws of war, they could be prosecuted for piracy, attacking vessel in international waters, attempting to seize ship and crew. Potential sentences: life imprisonment. Venezuelan government demanded their return. Washington refused. The commandos remained imprisoned while diplomatic negotiations continued. Eventually, quiet prisoner exchange occurred. Details remain classified, but the commandos returned home in disgrace, not as heroes. Your engagement directly shapes what content we cover next. Drop a comment with your thoughts and subscribe to support this channel. The 4 Venezuelan commandos killed in the engagement were returned to Venezuela through diplomatic channels. Caracas held military funeral with full honors. State media portrayed them as heroes who died defending sovereignty. The narrative ignored inconvenient facts. The commandos attacked American ship in international waters. They initiated hostilities. They paid ultimate price for government's reckless decision. Truth doesn't matter in authoritarian propaganda. Only the story matters. Venezuelan naval infantry never recovered from the operational failure. Elite units' reputation destroyed. Recruitment collapsed. Experienced operators resigned. The Agrupación de Commandos Anfibios was quietly disbanded in March 2025. Venezuela's government claimed organizational restructuring. Reality was simpler. The unit no longer existed because nobody wanted to serve in force that suffered 100% operational failure and 22% casualties attempting to board one American patrol ship. The Stone continued counter-narcotics operations without interruption. 3 days after the engagement, the cutter seized another drug shipment worth $40 million. Business as usual. The crew received unit commendation for their actions during the boarding attempt. Individual sailors received personal awards for exceptional performance. But the most important recognition came from adversaries. Every potential threat in the Caribbean learned the lesson. American Coast Guard cutters are defended by professional warriors with overwhelming firepower. Attempting to board one guarantees destruction. This kind of detailed tactical breakdown takes serious research and time to produce. Subscribe to help us keep making this content. The operation's failure fundamentally changed Venezuelan military planning. No more direct challenges to American forces. No more aggressive intercepts. No more provocative actions. Venezuela's military recognized they couldn't win tactical engagements against United States. That recognition forced strategic shift. Caracas now avoids confrontation, maintains distance from American operations, accepts American presence in Caribbean without challenge. The October 28th engagement achieved deterrence through demonstrated capability. Coast Guard recruitment surged after the incident. Young Americans saw footage of the Stone defending itself against elite foreign commandos. Saw Coast Guard sailors manning weapons with precision and courage. Saw professional military force, not just maritime law enforcement. Enlistment applications increased 40% in November 2024. The service traditionally overshadowed by Navy suddenly attracted top-tier recruits. Combat engagement proved Coast Guard offers real military service with real operational tempo. Allied nations requested training from U.S. Coast Guard on boarding defense tactics. Japan, Philippines, South Korea, and Taiwan all sent officers to observe American procedures. The Stone's engagement became case study in defending vessels against Special Forces assault. Every maritime nation faces potential boarding threats. Learning from successful defense against elite commandos provided invaluable lessons. American doctrine spread throughout Allied navies and coast guards. The Stone returned to home port in Charleston, South Carolina on November 15th. The crew received heroes' welcome. Local media covered the arrival. Families celebrated their sailors' safe return. But the crew downplayed their actions. They'd simply done their jobs, defended their ship, protected each other, executed training. That's what professionals do. The modesty made their achievement more impressive, not less. These were warriors who didn't need recognition to validate their service. 2 final questions for you. Should the Stone have engaged the boats at longer range to ensure zero risk to American crew? And should Venezuela face additional consequences beyond diplomatic embarrassment for attacking U.S. forces? Leave your strategic analysis in the comments. If you made it this far, you're exactly the viewer we create this content for. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss our military analysis and tactical breakdowns. Share this with anyone interested in special operations, naval combat, and how American forces respond to direct threats. This is Navy Force USA, where we break down the engagements that demonstrate American military capability and resolve. Stay informed, stay engaged, and remember, underestimating American forces is a career-ending mistake. Venezuelan commandos thought Coast Guard cutter would be easy target. 4 died, 14 captured, 0 success. Elite Special Forces unit destroyed in 7 minutes by sailors they dismissed as less threatening than Navy. That's the reality of challenging American military power. Training, technology, and professional crews defeat aggression decisively. Venezuela learned that lesson at 1:47 a.m. on October 28th. They paid for it with blood, treasure, and credibility. The lesson stands as warning to every adversary. Attack American forces and lose everything. The Stone's crew proved it. The wreckage of 4 Venezuelan boats at the bottom of the Caribbean proves it. And the 14 captured commandos living with their failure prove it. Don't test American resolve. You won't like the outcome.